You have probably seen her over the years during crop spraying or transportation flights, and when she is controlled by a pilot with some 24,000 flying hours, the show is legendary. The LAMA celebrated its 50th anniversary flight in 2019, achieving great success and breaking a world record. But the history of the LAMA started much earlier. In 1955, SUD Aviation unveiled the Alouette II, the first helicopter to ever have a turboshaft. The same year, test pilot Jean Boulet climbed to 8,209 metres and broke the world altitude record with this machine. 4 years later, in 1959, the more powerful Alouette III was launched, powered by an 870 horsepower Artust 3B turboshaft. In 1969, India requested a light helicopter capable of operating at high altitude. This led to SUD Aviation developing an Alouette II fitted with the Artust 3B turboshaft and the mechanical components of the Alouette III. It was the birth of the LAMA, although the Indian version was called Cheetah.
I'm Wing Commander Vats. I belong to the Indian Air Force. The role of my unit is to fly the Cheetah helicopter, which is the light utility helicopter of the Indian Air Force.
While India received its first Cheetahs, the very first LAMA arrived in Switzerland during April 1971. Registered as HB XDI, she became the pride of Air-Zermatt's fleet. In June, Air-Glaciers received their first LAMA, registration HB XDG. It was the beginning of a new era in the domain of aerial work and rescue.
We already had an outstanding machine, the Allet. Then we got the LAMA, which was much more performant. The LAMA allowed us to carry heavier loads. It quickly became the flagship machine in the mountain areas.
On 10th of March 2011, people from the village of Zermatt celebrated 2 rescue crews who had completed a rescue operation at Annapurna. The LAMA India of Air-Zermatt made an appearance. This machine is absolutely magical, and in 2019 she celebrated 40 years of operation with the company. She is Air-Zermatt's last operational LAMA, although through the years the company has operated a total of 17 such machines from their various bases throughout the valley. It's the summer of 2019. Gerold, the CEO of Air-Zermatt, is today at the controls of the LAMA India. He started as a pilot, later becoming the chief pilot, before taking control of the company a few years ago. He knows the LAMA by heart.
I have approximately 7,000 to 7,500 hours on the LAMA. My friend Bern van Doornik always said that she was a life insurance, and it's a real pleasure to fly a splendid machine like the LAMA.
Splendide comme le LAMA. On a 880 chevaux sur le moteur.
The turboshaft has 880 horsepower, and the LAMA is very small, very agile, and the engine very reliable. We always say that we could put salad oil in it and it would work perfectly. Hence, it's really the machine for high altitude.
C'est vraiment la machine pour la haute montagne. tellement puissant, le moteur...
It's so powerful, we could say that the engine is overpowered. That means that we have the same performance even at high altitude. We can climb at 4,600 meters without any problem. And the LAMA is small and agile. She really is a machine for pilots too.
C'est vrai que c'est une machine pour les pilotes aussi.
The LAMA was involved in all the developments of rescue in high mountains, with Air-Zermatt completing the first direct winch operation on the face of the Eiger and at the Matterhorn. The LAMA is the downright history of Air-Zermatt.
Et puis le LAMA, c'est carrément l'histoire d'Air-Zermatt. À l'époque, c'est clair, c'était une révolution.
At the time, she was a revolution. She had 880 horsepower, a wonderful engine, and we were able to lift nearly 900 kilograms. It really was a revolution. The LAMA gave us so much for nearly 40 years. We have been very proud to have this machine.
Presque 40 ans, on était très fiers d'avoir cette machine.
The LAMA was so powerful that she broke an unbelievable world record in 1972, when on the 21st of June, with test pilot Jean Boulet at the controls, a LAMA climbed to the tremendous altitude of 12,440 metres. And 50 years later that record still hasn't been broken. The incredible performance of the LAMA has ensured that she is an excellent tool for rescue operations. She has retrieved thousands of mountaineers in the Alps, in all weathers and at all altitudes.
Certainement, le LAMA, dans beaucoup des cas...
In many cases, she was certainly the very last chance of survival for mountaineers. She was the only way to achieve the mission.
Effectuer le sauvetage à la fin. Moi, j'ai eu un sauvetage au Cervat dernièrement, la nuit, avec le grand 429.
I had a rescue mission at the Matterhorn at night recently with the Bell 429. The weather conditions changed quickly all the time. I was not able to retrieve the guy who had a severe head injury. We were under pressure really. I decided to fly back to Zermatt and to take the old LAMA to finish the mission with her. We had more reserve, more margins, and the visibility was an important factor that night.
Avec le LAMA, puis finalement, ouais, on avait un petit peu plus de réserve, de marge, et la visibilité, c'était vraiment quelque chose qui était important cette nuit. Et voilà, grâce à ça.
It's always an advantage to keep a LAMA in the hangar.
Reliable and rustic, the LAMA carved out a reputation of a flying jeep. She widely contributed to the development of the alpine areas.
I will say that she is the transport beast. She is the machine that allowed the development of the infrastructures of the canton of the Valais, then of the Alps. The LAMA allowed us to build the mountain huts, the ski lifts, and before that we had to do the job by foot or with planes. The first Plattis Porters and the Piper Super Club carried goods, but the LAMA was the very first machine which was able to carry 700 kilos at 3,000 meters.
The LAMA was designed around the Artust 3B turboshaft. This engine was extremely powerful. The mechanics were designed to deliver its massive power even at high altitude. The LAMA was a masterpiece of the French engineers at Sud Aviation. She became a bestseller in the mountain areas very quickly.
C'est une machine qui était, on va dire, très puissante.
She was a very powerful machine. This power was very forgiving. We virtually had no problems up to 4,000 meters. This helped us a lot.
C'est ça qui nous a beaucoup aidé.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning and we're at Sion. Jean-Louis Locher will take the controls today and is ready to spray the vineyards to prevent disease. It will be a hectic 2 hours for Jean-Louis, who never hides his joy to fly the LAMA.
I made my life with the LAMA. I have about 10,200 hours with the LAMA. It's always a great pleasure to fly this machine.
Llamas have been flying in the vineyards and spraying fungicidal products for more than 30 years. It continues to be an exceptional helicopter.
À l'époque, c'était la meilleure des machines.
At the time, she was the best of all machines. She has an 870 horsepower turbo shaft, incredible manoeuvrability, and above all, her visibility. The only problem with the LAMA is the heat in the summer. With an outside temperature of 20 degrees and all the windows closed, the temperatures rise to 50 degrees.
The
main advantage of the LAMA for crop spraying is her outstanding visibility. At 60 kilometers per hour and just a few meters above the ground, this quality simply represents a question of life or death for the pilot.
The main danger is to hit a crop bar. Now that crop bars have been shortened, there is a risk of hitting the rotor blades. This could happen when we're flying next to small grooves. The blades spin at 700 kilometers an hour, so it's a big danger. It's a crash if we hit a trunk with the blades.
Sooner or later, another type of helicopter will spray the vineyards in the valley. The LAMA still presents a huge disadvantage compared to the modern machines.
She makes too much noise. This irritates people, especially in the vineyards. People complain a lot. It will be fine when we fly B2s. There will be much less noise.
The undisputed supremacy of the LAMA for mountain aerial work lasted from the beginning of the 1970s through to 1997. That year, Eurocopter unveiled the Squirrel B3, an overpowered version of the Squirrel which had existed since 1974. With her 850 horsepower Ariel turboshaft, the B3 can lift a 1,400 kilogram payload at sea level, versus 1,000 kilograms for the LAMA. The pictures show a B3 breaking a new altitude record in 2005 by landing on the top of Mount Everest at 8,850 meters. Today the B3 is the replacement machine for the LAMA. Nevertheless, the LAMA still keeps its superiority in extreme conditions. This is November 2007. We are in the upper valley in the LAMA. The Föhn was creating gusts of wind in excess of 80 kilometers per hour, and the pilot had to pick up workers from a slope. Our LAMA did a fantastic job in such weather conditions. Thanks to her trellis-shaped tail, the LAMA is much less sensitive to wind than the B3. But will her disappearance prevent some rescue missions because of heavy wind?
High wind in the mountains is that above 100 kilometers an hour. You cannot achieve the mission if you are in strong gusts of wind, even with a LAMA. We will drop the guides on the other side of the mountain, then they will do a terrestrial rescue. But only the LAMA can sustain heavier wind conditions. We can also speak of the Bell 429 too. It's a new overpowered machine. With our company, we'll take a LAMA as long as we have her. After that, we'll take a B3 and we'll do what we can. If we drop the guides as close as possible, they will do a terrestrial rescue.
En 5 ans, j'ai vécu peut-être 2 situations où vraiment le LAMA a encore...
In 5 years, I have experienced 2 situations where the LAMA really made the difference, even now, despite of machines like the B3 or the Bell 429. But they were extreme cases, and it becomes more and more rare for the LAMA to make the difference because helicopter makers are looking for novelties. They increase the power. We have very good tools to do our job here in high mountains.
Et puis là, on a aussi des outils qui sont très bien à disposition pour faire notre travail ici en haute montagne.
The maintenance of the LAMA represents a lot of work. It's 3 hours of work per flight hour. It's 3 times more than with a modern machine, but the mechanics really like the rustic side of the LAMA.
She's a wonderful machine because of her accessibility and for troubleshooting, because there are no electronics. She is mechanical and electrical only, hence she is much simpler.
Every day the LAMA calls for lubrification and some routine checks, with more in-depth checks required at regular intervals.
Un contrôle périodique, il commence chaque 25 heures de vol.
The first periodic check starts at 25 flight hours. There is an inspection to do. Then there are other things to check at 100 hours, the same at 200 hours, and at 400 hours the helicopter requires big maintenance.
Un gros entretien programmé sur l'hélicoptère.
This is the general revision after 12 years or 4,800 flight hours. The machine is completely dismantled, scoured, checked, painted and reassembled. The LAMA is ready to fly again after 3 months and 1,500 hours of work. The beast was designed to last a long time.
Je ferai un peu un parallèle avec l'électroménager.
I will do a comparison with house appliances. The appliances of the 60s lasted for much longer than modern appliances. It's exactly the same with helicopters, and the LAMA was accomplished in about 15 years, while modern helicopters are constantly evolving.
Des hélicoptères actuels, ils sont en constante évolution.
The Squirrel B3 has been in service in the Swiss companies since the beginning of the millennium. There was some scepticism in aeronautical circles at first, but did the B3 finally beat the LAMA on her own territory?
Quand on avait commencé, on n'avait pas assez d'expérience.
We didn't have enough experience when we started to use the B3, but we can tell that now. When the air is not hot, she is at the same level, a little bit better even, because she is faster than the LAMA. We now have the experience. We transported up to 4,600 meters, the same loads that we used to lift with the LAMA.
Les mêmes poids comme à l'époque avec le LAMA.
We are evolving. Everybody is evolving. I flew the B3. This machine is just magic. The engine start is electronic, the top speed is faster, the cruising speed is faster. There is much less noise, less vibrations, less windows. Hence, she is a wonderful machine too, for crop dusting.
LAMA or B3? The choice between a flying jeep and the comfort of modernity. Pilots hesitate when it comes to choosing their desired helicopter. What is ultimately their favourite machine?
It always depends on the situation whether I can choose to fly the LAMA or the B3. But as I have only a few options to fly the LAMA, I always prefer to fly the LAMA. So, the LAMA for aerial work, the B3 for taxi flights.
Le LAMA, ça restera quelque chose dans mon cœur ancré.
The LAMA will remain anchored in my heart. She is extraordinary and fantastic. And the B3 is this machine of today. She is fast. She is interesting for her versatility. We are less tired. There are less vibrations, so if I had to choose, I would take the LAMA.
Ah, allons, si je dois choisir, je prendrai le LAMA.
Despite her rustic look, the LAMA is a real star on the internet. Several sites are dedicated to her. And when a llama video is posted on the net, thousands of viewers will watch it. How do you explain such success?
Nostalgie aussi, la nostalgie des vieilles machines.
It's the nostalgia of old machines. People are looking for old cars, old bikes, why not old helicopters? There is the Allet too. There are lots of people who buy them to fly them privately because they are nostalgic of that time.
L'amour du lama, c'est clair, c'est comme une libelle.
There is a love for the llama. She's like a dragonfly. She represents the origins of the helicopter. I think that people adore the llama. There is no tail boom. This machine is just fantastic.
Il n'y a pas de poutre de queue, c'est une machine juste fantastique.
Many model builders own a llama. It's a must even. This is an exact replica of India. She was built by Robert Eelmeyer. She has a main rotor with a diameter of 4 meters 50. She has a 17-litre tank and she is powered by a real miniature turboshaft. She is even the biggest turbine helicopter in the world. Have a look at the differences with the real India. You won't find them.
Ben, si je vois un modèle réduit avec les couleurs de X-Ray India.
I'm very proud, first of all, when I see a model with colours of X-Ray India, because I could fly the real one. And I think that our design is fantastic. It has the stars of the flag of the valley. It was a real bonus for our marketing.
Beaucoup aussi au point de vue marketing.
In total, 84 llama have flown under the Swiss flag since 1971. Today, less than 15 of them are still registered in Switzerland, and some of those are not in flying condition anymore. What caused the gradual disappearance of the llama?
Après un bon moment qu'on a pu utiliser cette machine, elle arrive au bout.
We have been able to use her for a long time, but it's the end now. There are no spare parts and the maintenance is enormous. Now Airbus, formerly Sud Aviation, don't produce the spare parts anymore. It's very difficult to find them, and on a technical point of view, a computer is missing in the machine.
Il manque un ordinateur dans la machine et voilà.
The llama enthusiasts have tears in their eyes when they see their beloved machine disappearing gradually. They have to accept it. One day it will be the end. But when exactly?
X-Ray India va rester encore 3 ans.
X-Ray India will remain with us for 3 years. Then we will be at the limit. A general revision is mandatory after 12 years. That will probably be the end of Hotel Bravo X-Ray India.
Hotel Bravo X-Ray India.
On sait pas exactement quand est-ce que le constructeur aura vraiment décidé.
We don't know exactly when the manufacturer will decide to get rid of the type certificate. It would be the end of the Lama and the Allet because it's the same certificate. As far as we're concerned, Romeo Echo, the last Lama we have in operation, will fly if we find spare parts until 2027.
Pour autant qu'on trouve des pièces, de voler jusqu'en 2027.
Several llama with Valaison colours have been sold with the arrival of the B3s, and some of them went very far.
Les lamas qui sont sortis du service de vol.
Some of the llamas that were withdrawn from service were overhauled, then sold to Norway. We overhauled some other llamas, and we sold some machines to private owners who put them on the top of their garage or their roofs and so on.
À des privés qui ont acheté des machines pour mettre dans leur garage, sur leur toit ou des choses comme ça.
Les lamas sont partis en Inde,
Llamas went to India, to Switzerland, and we sold one to Norway. They went all over the world. The penultimate, Hotel Bravo X-Ray Papa Juliet, was sold to Russia. She is still flying, and the owners haven't changed her design, so the stars are flying round Mount Elbrus.
Le design, alors il y a les étoiles qui volent autour du Elbrus.
We have found these pictures on the internet. Owned by a company called HeliAction, the former Papa Juliet flies passengers and skiers in the Caucasus. The images speak for themselves. The LAMA will say goodbye in a few years. It will be the end of a glorious era of mountain aviation. But must we regret this outstanding machine? The opinion of the pilots and of the mechanics is quite nuanced.
Non, pas du tout, je crois pas. Je crois pas. Aujourd'hui.
No, not at all. I don't think so. We drove a VW Beetle in the past. We found it cool. Today we have very nice cars. We don't regret these cars. We are evolving with the novelties. On a technical point of view, the new machines have fantastic equipment.
Les nouvelles machines sont super bien équipées.
Les mécaniciens plus anciens qui ont beaucoup passé de temps dans leur carrière professionnelle.
Elderly mechanics who spend lots of time on this helicopter will certainly be sad. Younger mechanics will prefer to remain on the Squirrel and won't be too sad to leave the LAMA. But I think that because of the workload linked to the LAMA, the technicians will be relieved.
Je pense que par la charge de travail que le LAMA amène, ça soulagera passablement les techniciens.
Oui, ça va être la même chose comme avec l'Alouette 3.
Yes, it will be the same as with the Alouette 3, the famous Alouette 3. We missed her a lot when she went off. It will be the same with the LAMA. I spent almost 1 year in the air with this machine. I was happy with her. I lived lots of beautiful things. We will never forget these memories.
Et puis c'est des souvenirs qu'on va jamais oublier. On va certainement regretter de plus avoir des LAMA.
We will certainly regret not having the LAMA anymore, but things will move forward. Everything will change with drones, with battery helicopters, with electric motors, but not so quickly.
Avec des batteries, des moteurs électriques, je pense qu'il y a tout qui va changer, mais pas trop vite.